All right, it's your boy Fanon. Welcome back to the channel for another video. In this one, we're going to talk about Caleb Plant and Canelo Alvarez, and Caleb Plant saying that he is sure that Canelo Alvarez is not juicing for this fight, that they're on an even playing field, and that is big, and that's big news for me. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So Canelo Alvarez and Caleb Plant will be fighting this weekend for an undisputed title, the 168-pound title. It is the first time that anybody has fought for the for a four-belt undisputed title at 168 pounds. I'm not sure if there was ever, the 168 pounds is one of the divisions that came along later on in boxing. So I'm not sure if that division was around, excuse me, when there was only one champion. But they're marketing this fight as being the first undisputed champion at 168. Canelo Alvarez has the IBF, the WBO, and the WBO, the WBA, and the WBC. And Caleb Plant has the IBF belt. And in the original face-off or press conference for this fight, something major happened, and was that Caleb Plant and Canelo Alvarez pretty much almost came to blows. Well, they did come to blows. Canelo Alvarez cut Caleb Plant under the eye. Caleb Plant hit him with a body shot, slapped him upside the head. But aside from that, also, Caleb Plant went off on Canelo Alvarez and called him a cheater and said, look, man, you a cheater. He did basically something about, I think he may even said something about that meat and not believing the meat. There's been a bunch of conversations going on, other interviews that were done with Caleb Plant where he said that, and he was saying, look, it's not an allegation that Canelo Alvarez got busted for performance-enhancing drugs. It's a fact that he got busted for performance-enhancing drugs. And, and he was saying, that it's just not right that people are out there in boxing cheating. So today, Caleb Plant and Canelo Alvarez arrived into Vegas for the lead into their fight, which is going to take place on Saturday. Caleb Plant was asked point blank. He said, look, why did the reporter asked him, why do you think it was important to get 12-week Vada testing for this fight? And Caleb Plant went into the usual and saying, hey, it was important that we get on an even playing field. He said that he never felt the need to cheat or the need to to use drugs to either help me cut weight or to help with my power. And he said that he felt like he was confident in himself. But then after that, he says that he feels like now with the Vada testing that they had, that they are on an even playing field. He believes that Canelo Alvarez is clean for this fight. And that for me is good news because, I myself, and I've said this a lot on my videos about Canelo Alvarez. I'm a fan of Canelo Alvarez. I think Canelo Alvarez is one of the best fighters in boxing. If it was not for the fact that he tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, I might have him as my number one pound-for-pound guy. But it's been very, very hard for me to do that because he's tested positive, in the past. But like they say, if just because he did it in the past doesn't mean he's doing it now. And if Canelo beats Caleb Plant, now with Caleb Plant feeling satisfied about the testing, I don't think anybody can hold those performance-enhancing drugs over the head of, or at least Caleb Plant can't hold it over Canelo Alvarez's head going forward. And I'm happy to see that whatever it was that they agreed to, whether it was 12 weeks, whether it was 10 weeks, because I had heard contradicting stories before. I'm glad that Caleb Plant feels satisfied about that because honestly, man, he deserves to have that type of comfort, right? Because that's a scenario that, it's reasonable for him to suspect Canelo Alvarez because Canelo Alvarez got tested positive before. So I'm just happy that they've got that underway. I do believe that I don't believe that the testing, if he was going to test positive before the fight, I think that would have already occurred. Of course they have the post-fight testing and all that, but I'm pretty confident that Canelo Alvarez is going to get through this without having any type of positive test. Now, another thing that was interesting that Caleb Plant said was when he talked about the fight, and I think that this is something where it seems like he was listening to Andre Ward. He was also saying that he was going to be in the face of Canelo Alvarez all night long. And if that is the case, I think that this is a scenario that would suit Caleb Plant well if he's able to do that. If he's able to stand close to Canelo Alvarez and successfully land punches on Canelo Alvarez and not have Canelo Alvarez pretty much just walking behind them while Caleb Plant burns all his energy out, from the outside, I think that would be a smart move. However, I don't think he can stay in the guy's face all night long. I think it's going to be more, closer to what what Andre Ward said, which was that, he just needs to be able to rattle Canelo's cage, and he needs to be able to show to Canelo Alvarez that he has to respect Caleb Plant's power and his skill. Now, I just got done watching a significant amount of the fight between Sergey Kovalev and Canelo Alvarez, and just the way that Canelo Alvarez continued to walk down Sergey Kovalev over the length of the fight and really wear Kovalev down, got him to the point where he's really sucking air and then wound up taking him out. That's what Canelo Alvarez is probably looking to do against Caleb Plant. Matter of fact, that's the prediction that he made, for the fight, that he thinks that this fight is going to go between 8 and 9 rounds before he gets him out of there. And that's a pretty big boast, man. But there's also a chance with Canelo Alvarez that he may be smelling himself a little bit, man. Because I'm watching the press conference for this fight, and I believe that this fight is a more competitive fight than a lot of people are giving it credit for, right? It's like almost 99% of the boxing experts are picking Canelo Alvarez to win the fight. Many of them are picking him to win the fight by knockout. And I just think that, I think that is just a little bit, I think that's just a little bit not quite giving Caleb Plant the credit that Caleb Plant deserves, because I do believe that Caleb Plant is the best fighter that Canelo Alvarez has fought since Gennady Golovkin. And I'm also saying that because if it turns out that Caleb Plant, that Canelo Alvarez does beat Caleb Plant like that, I want to be able to give the man full credit for the fight because he beat somebody that was a legitimate fighter, and not, what has been the scenario with Canelo Alvarez for a while now, which is that he was beating guys that did, like Caleb Plant said, pretty much show up just to collect a check and get out of there and, hand over their belt and get out of there. Callum Smith, if you go back and watch the Callum Smith fight, Callum Smith looked scared half to death. He looked confused in the fight. He looked like, pretty much from the opening round, like he was scared of a guy that was much smaller than him, and he never attempted to take the fight to Canelo Alvarez. He just looked absolutely confused in there, like they say, looking to give up his belt. The same thing, obviously, for Yeldamir, who was not a high-level guy, Rocky Fielding. Billy Joe Saunders looked like he tried to put up a fight for a little while until Canelo Alvarez figured him out, at which point in time he folded like hot laundry and got up out of there at the first opportunity. Once Canelo Alvarez started pushing on him, he basically quit, got out of there, and and I don't know if we're gonna see him fight again. But I'm looking forward to a good fight, an entertaining fight with Canelo Alvarez. I hope it's a competitive fight. I do pick Canelo Alvarez to win, but I do think that Caleb Plant is a live underdog and has a decent shot at an upset. But all in all, I'm glad that Caleb Plant feels comfortable with the drug testing for the fight, and that shouldn't be an issue, at least in Caleb Plant's mind going into the fight. That's my take on the issue. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuce.